remarkable people, they don't like just go crazy thinking about, was this right? Did I optimize? You switch as soon as you make your decision. You switch from, is this the right decision, to making the decision right. I think that AI is a bigger deal than mobile phones, internet, social media, personal computing. I actually, I think it's the biggest deal I've ever encountered in my career. Literally is going to change the game. Now, this, of course, attracts thousands of startups. And at the end of the day, there's going to be about 3 or 4 LLMs that are the winners.
Yeah.
And, it may be just ChatGPT, and maybe it's Google, and maybe it's, so I don't know if the world's going to need 10,000 LLMs. That's number one. And number two, I think there's, how the concept of greenwashing, where all of a sudden every company says, oh yeah, our products are organic, our labor is certified, and they're just like,
we have biodiversity in our company, or whatever it might be, right?
Yeah. So I think a lot of companies now, that they got this new buzzword called AI. So, they like, I don't know, they sell books online, and, they use AI. Well, I mean, okay. Show me a company that isn't using AI. And so that's, I think when all the dust settles, you cannot bullshit your way out of this. If you're saying you're using AI, you better really be using AI in some significant way. You're not just blowing smoke to increase the valuation of your company. Fixed mindset is that you're a winner, and you think you cannot win anymore, nor can you be toppled.
Yeah.
And I would say that's the worst attitude of all. So, and so and now when it comes to hiring, I think people with the fixed mindset tend to hire people with the fixed mindset, because, we think we're geniuses, so we're only going to hire geniuses. And these geniuses don't need to develop because they're already geniuses. Some mistakes I see over and over. First, that CEOs hire in their mirror image.
Yeah.
So, I'm a tall white male from the Ivy League. I'm going to hire other tall white males from the Ivy League. Or from the outside looking in, and you look at a company that's very diverse, it means that the company has a growth mindset.
Yes.
And it also means that the company is probably mission driven, because they don't give a shit if you don't fit into the stereotype. All they want to know is, are you part of the problem, or you're part of the solution? This sounds like a duhism, but the leading cause of death of a tech startup is running out of money. Duh. So, I tell everybody, this is a very simple thing. Sales fixes everything. And as long as you have sales, you're in the game. As long as you have sales, your VC, who has invested in 10 other companies, he or she is trying to triage 6 of them. And if you're the company with sales, he's going to leave you alone. She's going to leave you alone. You're the one I don't have to worry about. I tell you a very good tell or clue that sales is not fixing everything is when you start using the S word, which is strategic. When you start throwing around a strategic, this is a strategic partnership. This is a strategic direction. This is a strategic person. You're full of shit, because you know what? We don't want strategic shit. We want money. We want sales. The last common problem, and this is a practice that I adopted a rule of thumb, which is whenever a CEO tells me when something will ship and how much revenue will generate, I add 1 year to the shipping date and I divide by 100. And that's pretty accurate on what actually happens.
Yep. I would totally agree with that. I would actually say add a year, double the costs, and halve the revenue. With Tidal, we lean in heavily on the product side early, obviously, right? Because without a great product, even though there has been many companies not build good products and still be successful,
Right.
we still feel that, like, if you can build a great product, to your point, that solves a really hard problem that is a common problem across geographies, particularly for us between Australia and probably North America.
Right.
And generally sales is you don't have sales problems. What you have is more sales capability problems, right? Finding the right talent and capability to sell that is normally the challenge, not actually the quality of the product itself.
I don't
Yeah.
care if venture capital is up or down or startups are up or down. All an entrepreneur needs to care about is your company. So if venture capital investment is way down, but you got your Series A, what the hell do you care about the rest of the industry? And the flip side is also true. If venture capital is up 20%, but you cannot get your Series A, well, you suck. It doesn't matter if the whole market is up.
These journeys that you go on when you start these businesses are long. Like, the anomalies are the short ones, right? Like, these are potentially multi-decade journeys a lot of the time, right? And so worrying about where a market cycle is up to, you have no control over that, right? What you do have control over is your product and your sales.
Well, if you're an entrepreneur, if the cycle is up, you say, hallelujah, the cycle is up. It's easier to get money. If the cycle is down, you say, hallelujah, there's less competition and bad times create great companies.
Yeah.
I have some very specific advice for pitching your company. And I think that the most important advice I can give you, besides the 10, 20, 30 rule, which is 10 slides, 20 minutes, 30-point font minimum, what I see repeatedly over and over again, entrepreneurs blowing, is that they're trying to tell a story roughly equal to War and Peace. Okay, so they want to tell this whole story like, oh, my ancestors came from England to, Perth in 1865, and then they started a software. I mean, they didn't start a software company. They started a drugstore, and then my second generation, blah blah blah, and then I went to the University of New South Wales, and I interned at McKinsey, and then I went to get my .NET certification from Microsoft, and so now you're 15 minutes into the pitch, and people are wondering, like, what the hell do these two clowns do? So I want to give you a metaphor that all you entrepreneurs, you should never forget. There are two kinds of airplanes. One airplane is an Airbus 380, or it's a 787 or a 777, and it's taking off from Sydney International. It's got 2 miles of runway, right? So this is this huge 500 passenger plane as it goes, and the miracle occurs at the end of 2 miles, and the 380 takes off. That's one kind of airplane. The other kind of an airplane is an F-16. It's on an aircraft carrier in the middle of the ocean. It's attached to a catapult. The guy drops the flag. The catapult fires. You launch the plane. You got a 150 meters to get off that deck, or you fall in the ocean and you die. All right. So you entrepreneurs, you're in a fighter jet. You're not in a freaking A380. Get off the deck fast. So that means in the first 15 seconds, explain what the hell you do. Because until you explain what the hell you do, nobody gives a shit about your world-class technology or world-class background, or you work for McKinsey and Accenture and Goldman Sachs. They just want to know what you do. And once that is established, then you can go into your story.